Okay, so SK Telecom versus G2. Let's start there. It's the one that I have the most thoughts about. IG and FunPlus Phoenix is more simplistic, but I think SKT and G2 I fleshed out a lot more. Give me your predictions. Give me your predictions. Give me your predictions right now. Give me some of your predictions. SK Telecom, IG and G2, G2 3-2, IG G2. Okay. So G2, why do we think G2 is better? Give me some of your thoughts. Give me your thoughts. Why? A lot of G2s in the chat. Why do we think G2 is better? My goodness. Severinius, make some noise. You subscribe at a very difficult time. Cap smurfing with roams. Is he gonna smurf as much with roams against Clid? Arcadia7, make some motherfucking noise. G2's from the region with the best casters. Now that's fair. Fantastic. G2 is European, so that's very not racist, but the opposite of there's some racial bias. They look so insanely clean in their macro versus LAM 1, wave control, etc. Never seen such a good map control from Western team, and SKT has had some really shaky performances and wasn't tested so far. They seem so happy. They did come back in both best of 5 on Fnatic, so overall good mentality, but of course SKT is experienced. Perks is good. G2 are good when the pressure's on. SKT as well. That's something we can say about SKT as well. Enemy has Kant. So Khan has had a wonderful tournament. Wonderful tournament. I think I could go so far as saying that Khan had a better tournament than Wunder. I think Khan has played very, very well. But obviously the best performer on SK Telecom, I think, is Clid. Clid has played really well. And Jankos has been very inconsistent. SKT looks shaky in quarter. Now that's a point that I agree with. SKT, I feel, the big question when it comes to SKT, if we go down the line, let me show you guys some stuff. So, first and foremost, I want to bring up first game, SKT versus RNG, game 1 highlights. So highlights obviously doesn't tell the whole story, so I'm going to try to tell you the whole story from the aspect of this game was a game that SK Telecom should have lost. Straightforward, they should have lost. We have this start, we have this TP situation that RNG won. This looked like a terrible situation at first, but it started off with Twisted Fate ulting down bottom. And usually if you have a numbers advantage like this, you expect to come out ahead. But this starts with Baker getting one-shotted. So already here, RNG won the situation. With no continuation at all, this is a game-winning situation. And this is going to tie in very well into my next point. This continues to fight. We have a continuation. I think one more dies. I think, okay. So we continue to the next point. RNG already won the situation. SKT, while being proactive, meaning what they want to force, when they want to go, when they want to pull the trigger, it has been very off. So this was the first instance. Boom, okay. Baker, okay. We didn't care too much about it. RNG's bot lane absolutely stomped SKT. So effort, I don't think has been too impressive, but neither has Mickey. So this is another point that we can raise. In terms of supports, honestly, there's not been any standout supports this tournament. Supports this tournament have been generally quite unexciting. I think Lehens in groups was super exciting, but then, dropped the ball against Griffin. I think it helps that the support meta has not been too crazy. There's not a lot of Rakan. Some people play Rakan, Leona, Crisp. Sure, you could say Crisp, but Crisp still, like, how much do we see of Crisp when he's playing Tamkench? I voted Crisp as the best support coming into the tournament because of Mickey's performance in the best of 5s. But still, no standout performance from any supports. You could say supports have been playing good, but no standout support performances. So when I'm looking at these semi-finals, do I care about the supports at all? Not really. It's like the role that I want to put least effort and least breath into, because it's just a role that has been very unexciting at this tournament. So we continue. So this, RNG was a very disconnected team. I think individually RNG was one of the best teams in the tournament, and there were always moments of blunder that gave SKT breathing room. So we had this fight. Okay. RNG, 2 Infernal Drakes at this point in time, and they're definitely in a position here already to look to win the game. Zaya is super fed. Renekton is also strong, but generally speaking, this also happened. So RNG riddled with silly mistakes that SKT punished. This was something that SKT did super well. RNG in this game, we had this team fight. This team fight was really bad. Like SKT had this idea of wanting to force so much. Is it the fight I'm referring to? This is okay. This is the one where Faker runs away and Uzi Smurf super hard. This, already from the position, many times, SKT is so fucking good at team fighting. So good at team fighting. Even in this position, you look at this position here. Look at where Ezreal is. Look how grouped up RNG is. They are grouped up in a bunch. Maybe if Lee Sin doesn't kick the Renekton into his own team, then maybe this is going to end better. Because here, Karsa just, let's deliver the Renekton into the fray. He has, it does so much damage here. And honestly, they could have, Renekton almost one-shot everyone here. Like everyone dropped super low. So Karsa with the kick here onto Renekton, let's deliver him into the team. RNG make a big mistake. But already here, SKT, they managed to get the most out of this team fight, when in reality, I don't think they should force this. I think what SKT failed to recognize in this game was that they have the possibility is in their split push. They have the TP on AD carry, they have the TP on Twisted Fate as well, but they kept forcing fights, and the only reason it worked was because I felt like RNG made a lot of mistakes. Like in this fight, they were grouping up together well, Teddy was out of position, and then they kick Renekton into the fray, and Renekton gets so much damage off. So this is why this is looking fairly close. Here, once again, RNG make a big mistake. They are looking to group and make the situation where they look to siege and they want to group up against the enemy, but here they have too many blind spots. They're walking up and sieging this turret. Khan positioned super well here to the left. You can see him over here, and then Klid with the barrel, the game-winning barrel. But this just speaks a lot to SKT's mindset in a lot of games. Sure, you could argue that in this position they need to find ways to break the game and look for opportunities, but still, constantly they're looking for team fights. When later on in the game they deciphered that with the team composition they need to look to, of course, force through side. So SKT with this Gragas barrel and so forth, get the Nash. We continue. And then here, once again, SKT just needs to be patient. Effort with the big blunder here, walks up too far and tries to put a ward here, and RNG will just look for the punish. And then I think Effort dies. Then SKT, once again, they can just play it patiently. They can look to push and then pressure into their sides. They don't want to look to group. But then SKT, once again, they pull the trigger here. Faker gets hooked, naturally, because this is how TF works. He's going to land in a very specific spot. TF gets kicked. And then all of a sudden, the whole Nasher here is lost upon what SKT did here. They continue to fight. This is completely unreasonable what they're doing. Jahu gets the kill, and boom, that's an ace. When SKT had a Nasher. It's a very sloppy game. While RNG mechanically played super good, many times they make a mistake. Allowing yourself to get barreled like this from an angle. Glid looked for a punish, was super good. but constantly we see the same pattern of SKT that they are looking to teamfight. They do it super, super well, but sometimes it's not the correct way to play the game with the drafts that they do sometimes. In this particular game, the only reason I feel like they beat RNG twice was because, honestly, RNG was trolling. So this was positive. It's very hard for RNG to look to respond to situations like this because they can always send 2 people into bottom because of the TPs. Here, even Lang doesn't have TP, so it's a good play. Then the continuation here from SKT was that they continue to force. The next thing here is that they catch Zoe, right? And they look for the fight. But this is exactly what RNG want. Uzi played this beautifully well. He's super, super strong. They are looking for the 5v5s. But you can see that this is not working out at all. RNG clean up. And this is wonderful for RNG. And this was at the hands of TF. While once again, SKT, in the wrong mindset, they are looking to force. They're looking to start a fight. They probably started the fight in the best way possible. Khan is collapsing. SKT here is in good position. They catch Zhao. He has no cleanse. This fight is beautiful. This is beautiful on many accounts. SKT, how they start fights and how they prepare for fights, freaking phenomenal. But sometimes it's not the right approach. We saw them have success right now with the bottom play, but instead here, once again, RNG, they are the ones forcing, and RNG get the fight. And even in this scenario, we have to praise SKT for how they started the fight because it was good. It was good by all accounts. But the team composition not to fight. They're running into a Xayah with full items. The Xayah has 9 kills. So RNG, once again, they need to look for that situation where they can end the game. So SKT now playing the split pushing game, trying to stall as much as possible. They have good wave clear, hard to engage on Gragas Ezreal. This is how the game should have looked like for the majority of it. And then here the mistake is, RNG are looking to siege. Their Nash runs off. I don't think they get more inhibitors. This is also a good play. Nash is off. So here the wave clear from Gragas and Ezreal is just too good. So SKT are managing to get a lot of effort done. SKT adapted within the game, but it happened very late. And I feel like if RNG don't make as many mistakes as they did, this game might look a lot harder. Because there's only so much you can get on bottom. Eventually, you'll reach a point in the game where RNG can just force Nash, Xayah has full items, and all will be good. But here, of course, the big mistake that happened was that RNG are looking to kind of siege in a situation where they can't. Here they are sieging. Enemy has they are sieging with no Nash, and TF was on top wave. They shouldn't have done this at all. This is a massive blunder. So RNG did a lot of silly mistakes. While it's weird because RNG, I think, did some of the things in game at the highest level of any other team in the tournament in terms of laning and in terms of early game, in terms of what Karsa accomplished. They had a very, very good pace. They were the strongest in a lot of parts of the game, but they made so many silly mistakes that kind of gave the game away. This is not a conversation about RNG. I think in the end, I think RNG did so many silly blunders that makes them, of course, deservedly so, getting out of the tournament. You know, they pick Lulu, they let Fnatic play Xayah, gangplank Gragas once again. Boom, they have Ezreal Lulu for some reason in the most important game of your life. Was this game's level of play overrated? Super, super hard. This was not a good game. This is not a good game. This was not a good quality game. Many mistakes, and SKT finding their way of playing the game very late. They have this tendency to rely on team fights. And you can check my full reviews of these games to have more understanding of where I'm coming from. But here is a very similar situation. Here it was crazy that SKT, I regarded them as one of the best 2v2s coming into the tournament, and we haven't seen it in action too much. We saw one game they played Elise Camille. Here we saw that they tried to create something early, but Karsa got the better end of this trade. Next thing that comes up, RNG trade 1-for-1. This is in favor of SK Telecom. Here, I thought it was strange that RNG went for the Ezreal pick instead of picking Kai'Sa. I think just every time you need to pick Kai'Sa. This is a mistake from RNG. Here, SKT look for the fight. They're practically, you know, it was strange. Ming got like Karsa gets such a good engage. Most of the time, you look at the situation and you're entering this space very, very late, and it felt kind of strange. Here it felt, I remember watching this and it felt very, very forced. But this is the SKT way, they kind of want to force fight at all costs. And here you could argue that you look at the enemy composition, they have Jarvan, Galio, Ezreal, in comparison to what you bring to the table. You have Ryze, Kai'Sa, and GP. Forcing here on the Herald off position is something that can cost you the game. So here, Ming gets a good engage, but then Karsa EQ onto these guys with the Galio ult. Teddy survives miraculously, and then a beautiful kill ultimate from Zhao who saves him. And then Ming runs it down. This was really confusing. Like here you have the better position for mid lane, and you don't need to look to face check anything. Like SKT just exited here, so RNG kind of trolled. Yeah, this was one of the most disgusting fights I've ever seen. This was hilarious. This was really, really funny, because once again it started pretty bad. Khan TPs into the situation, almost gets caught here. He's forced to flash out right away. And from the get-go, you get the feeling here that RNG is in better position. They already used the Leona ultimate, Lang is coming in here, and the problem is that they kind of just leash the dragon, I feel. They leash the dragon is helping. I don't know who the hell leashed the dragon, but the dragon is doing a lot of damage. Here I feel like if RNG just played it a bit more patiently, this is going to be a good fight for them, because SKT need to enter their space. And then, you know, look at Zhao, like Zhao is running into them. He just needs to be patient. Like here, Jarvan, you need to wait for the Jarvan EQ, look for two Galio combo, and then combine together. But Zhao is the one getting caught, and then look at his flash. Look at his flash. So SKT managed to salvage a rough situation after Khan's TP. Next thing that comes up. So here, RNG get a massive catch. Massive catch. RNG, once again, they have Nash. Most of the time here, you know, there's no opportunity to steal, because Lee will get Mordo ulted. It's only natural that Karsa can take this away. He smites at 250, which is kind of crazy, all things considered. And then once again, you know, in most high-level games, you expect a team with an Asher to be able to win out the game. But then look at Ming's move here. Ming's move here is absolutely crazy. So usually here, in this position, Ryze is trading from bottom side, and you want to, after taking this turret, you just want to hover into bot, take 2 more towers, extend your gold lead. But instead, Ming is doing this move. Look at Ming's move. And the reason I'm showing RNG's mistake is because I feel like SKT got away with a lot. Because usually here, I'm looking at the game state, and it's like, okay, SKT have some scaling on their side, but you know, RNG are looking quite freaking strong here. They can pick up the towers on side for free. There's a lot of gold to be picked up here. They can let even more to be here, and they can hover into right side. It's going to be the more defensive play. But you can definitely look to take the outer towers here, but instead they look to siege. And then Ming, I don't know what Ming does. Look at this E. Look at this E. Like, what kind of good kush are you smoking if you E like this? Look at Ming's E now. Show us the E. Show us the E. So he's gonna E any moment. Show us the E, Ming. So here. Jesus. Jesus almighty. RNG. This is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. This is game losing. And then the next thing that comes up, this is the biggest cocktail of a fight that I've ever seen. The biggest thing here that we need to know about RNG is that their composition loses its vanity the moment they start to lose a couple of fights, because SKT are very reliant on flash. But here it's just a miracle. Like how can RNG lose with a start like this? So SKT Faker's out already. Leona is out. But then they chase in and Khan gets a barrel from hell. Like, look at this barrel. Boom, boom, boom. No one fucking sees it. 700 damage to every single person. SKT practically managed to 3v5 this fight. 3v5. Leona's gone. Faker's gone. And then, boom. Teddy Smurfs. Super, super good fight from SKT. 3 people. Because here, honestly, Faker and Effort got heavily caught. Heavily caught. Super, super caught. And then now at this point, SKT just managed to scale. Like you're playing Ezreal against Kaiser, 32 minutes into the game, and you're even, you're going to lose. Khan gets caught. Effort gets engaged on, and then Teddy has full items here. He has Rabadubia and too much shit is going on as well. Okay. So already from the RNG games that were hyped up so much, you know, I am very, very unimpressed. And this is going to tie in very well into my prediction about G2 and SKT. It's just that I am very unimpressed by SK Telecom this tournament so far. I felt like their group, they were allowed to breeze. The next thing that's coming up is, you know, the big point is SKT, when they have a composition that's good at team fighting and it scales better, they look like a very strong team. It's just, they look like a very, very strong team. The next thing that's coming up that I want to show, game 2, the next thing I want to show, the reason we're looking at highlights is because it's just so easy. So here, 2 points of proactivity. So here, the biggest difference maker in this replay is, you know, I think you guys prefer this mode, when I just do this and then I can hide this. Who cares about the sub goal, honestly? And then boom, properties. Then we do boom, boom. You guys prefer this? Let's do this. We can switch between both. We can switch between both. Production value. So this is a game where they recognize that they need to be proactive. They're trying to be proactive. Broxah did a good job here, considering he had 3 lanes that were very weak. Bottom died 2 times already, and Broxah responds to this dive. And it was so questionable because SKT can easily pressure 2v2 mid in 2 sides. That was crazy. It's like, it was so unbelievable to see this actually work for Fnatic. Because in this position, very simple and straightforward, SK Telecom just need to pressure through mid. Faker had prio the entire game, 2v2, pressure dive into the top, and then shit like this is not going to happen. Because they had no information on where Broxah was. And this is something that Tian did much, much better. While Klid is being praised and such, Tian, what they did to Broxah was not legal. Like Tian's performance in this quarterfinals was nasty on every level. So, to look back, you know, this particular game, you had this dive here. I think, you know, 1-for-1 is not where you want to be if you have prio everywhere. When you have prio everywhere, you don't fucking go 1-for-1. You include your mid laner in the play, you suffocate the enemy, you push the jungler out. Then here, Fnatic, you know, this is a good dive. This is a good dive from SKT, but it's just the execution is poor. They're going on Gragas. Broxah with the good stopwatch, and then the GP ult lands, and just here you can just flash and one-shot the Veigar. Just here, the execution of this dive was a massive throw. If you're Fnatic, even at this point, you're super happy because you know SKT, they just want to look to fight. And in this position here, there's very little reason to fight. Kali has no ultimate. Alistar has no ultimate. There are no tools at all here for SKT to fight. They just focus on objective. Look, they managed to finish the Herald, but it was kind of troll, this entire situation. Just SKT forcing to fight. This was a beautiful situation because Reckless was pushing bottom, breaking the turret, and then now practically the game is over. Because Fnatic have gone through the hard parts, GP is super fed, so split push options is not there. Like GP is going to be able to handle his own against Vladimir and against Lee. Have no issues. As we see here, it's just a problem that is 3-1-3. It's Trinity Force at 13 minutes. And then here, Whippo, if he started walking towards Khan earlier, he might have a kill, but it doesn't matter. The game is just lost here. Here, they make aggressive play on top. Fnatic respond with aggressive play on bottom, and the trade is just heavy in their favor. And then here, this reeks of desperation. SKT, once again, here. Was the first dive of SKT that you showed a bad dive, or was it well read by Broxa? So Broxa, it was good of him to be there in that position. But the problem is that if you have prio everywhere, you can suffocate the enemy jungler out and get full information on him. Full information. They can push Broxa out. No problem. It's very easy to do so in such a position. So this is, you know, Broxa did the best of his situation, but he has no options here. If the enemy plays good, then all is good. Vedis explained why Faker died. No, here, he just fucking dies because he trolls. Not a big deal. It's like, here he just needs to fucking press ult, you know? It's a win trade. It's clearly, this is totally not what SKT. This is not a fucking win trade. They are making the same exact mistakes like they did against RNG. RNG, they were waiting. They were waiting and then eventually they won the game because it worked against RNG. RNG made so many dumb mistakes that allowed SKT to play in such a fashion where they wait for this point in the game where they are just unstoppable. Even though they had a split push composition, they were trying to fight. Here, enemy has the option of waiting, and you can see when SKT needs to be proactive, it looks kind of silly. When SKT are in a position where they can maintain the status quo and they are scaling better and they can reach a point where they're going to dominate fights, SKT looks like the best team in the tournament. But when they're not allowed to, they look kind of shit. So in this case, you know, here, you compare these two drafts, SKT versus Fnatic. On first hand, you know, it looks like SKT have some decent scaling, but then afterwards you realize in the game that playing Alistar against Veigar and Gragas and Xayah is super hard. So this Veigar pick was just super unique. It was hard to adjust to. This Veigar pick was phenomenal. So, all things considered, SKT tried to be proactive. Didn't work at all. Very bad. Very bad indeed. The next point is, you know, SKT versus Splice game 3. So, we don't necessarily need highlights for this. We just need the game. Because the early game here was quite a sad display. You know, your lanes... So sure, you can argue that the pick is troll, you have Skarner. But the fact that SKT managed to accomplish so little playing Draven Thresh and Renekton early, you know, I feel like there could have been some more room to be active. But I also think that this is a massive draft victory for Splice. They get the Ornn into the Renekton, Ornn super good into Draven as well, and Thresh, depending on how you view it. Splice have the teamfight composition. SKT try to always, no matter what, teamfight their way out of the situations. Splice managed to win a big 2v2 on top. Who wins Ryze versus Asia matchup? I think Ryze wins. But Ryze can get ganked very easily. So we had this fight once again. You know, SKT they managed to win a fight. You know, so once again, I want to praise SKT where it should be praised, because this started really shitty. Like Faker got slammed, if I remember correctly. He got slammed by Nautilus. Look at Noshkren, boom. He got fucking straight up slammed. Khan finds a good position. He's zoning Kobe. Boom. That's the W. He's 1v2ing, and then this is just you know, a disaster, because Khan just smurfs the shit out of this fight. And then Humanoid is, you know, his his flash onto Faker here is a bit, you know, of a mind block. That's, if he doesn't flash here, he just plays it cool and fights on Renekton. This is much better. But SKT, even in situations like this, managed to find a really good fight when Splice are clearly favored here. Then afterwards, Splice did what their composition does best. They forced an Ashe and they got a big fight and the game was over. But it's always strange because with SKT, Draven, Thresh and Renekton, you need to snowball early and SKT is not that great at doing so. Boom, there's the fight. Teddy, like, good luck playing Draven against this. You just can't. Playing Draven against this team, you have Nautilus and Ornn on enemy team. Just good luck. Good luck in your life, you know. Zerxe flies, and that's an ace. And in the other games, you know, to summarize the Splice SKT series, it was so uninteresting on so many levels that it was so uninteresting on so many levels because they just reached a point where they would be stronger in team fights, and it was very messy. You know, Splice managed to accomplish some good things in the early game, and then afterwards, SKT just had more firepower individually. I think Kobe played super well. He was super good, and Noshkren and Kobe did very well lane phase wise. And then beyond that, I think just Khan and Khan played like a monster, you know? So I think, you know, in terms of comparing the quarterfinals, who showed the highest level out of the teams that are in the semifinals, I think SKT is not the one. Not the one at all. In groups, I was very unexcited. In quarters, I was very unexcited. Now, the big thing is, I had a very high opinion of SKT coming into the tournament because I heralded their 2v2 mid as one of the best in the entire tournament. And that could be very exciting against a team like G2. Now I can make you a big highlight reel on all the oinks and the trolls that G2 did throughout groups and the mistakes. But the bottom line is, I think G2's ability to play very different styles, meaning that they know how to win games regardless of what they're playing. I think this is such a big strength against a team like SK Telecom. G2 can play a game where they need to force fights. They can know how to play a game where they need to stall. They understand how to play a game where they need to split push. They understand if they need to pick people off. They understand 3-1-1. They understand 1-1-3. They understand 1-3-1, 1-4, 5-0. Many different things. I think this is what makes G2 so strong coming into the rest of the tournament. Against SKT specifically, we've seen now SKT struggle against teams that are on paper worse than them, meaning Splice and Fnatic, when you freaking, what's it called? When you have a composition that is better at team fighting than SKT. Let me just open the door. Cookie, what is it? Come in. Come in. Welcome. Welcome. Can I post a link? Like, just post a link, man. Yeah, what is this link? I'm not gonna open it. Yeah, it's a video of Perks meeting Rookie. Yeah, well, come on, man. Everyone has seen it. It's completely irrelevant to this. We are discussing the semifinals. Let's stay on topic, yeah? So, back to the point about G2 and their versatility. So, they know how to play many different styles. SKT seem to only know how to play one style, which is just Keep finding ways of team fighting. When the game is about team fighting, SKT is going to blow anyone out of the water. Khan and Teddy team fighting in this tournament has been monstrous. Monstrous. Honestly, on a whole nother level. I think Khan is going under the radar for a lot of people. Khan is super, super insane. At the same time, we need to give SKT the benefit of the doubt because the groups and the quarter draw that they had allowed them to do this. What if their approach against RNG and against Fnatic was, if we scale better, we're always going to win? Maybe this was their approach because it worked. It got them the first place. Then against Splice, they could take it easy. Because the bottom line is, they tried a bunch of picks. They tried to fucking make the world believe that Draven is somehow exciting. SKT Draven is exciting. No. They tried to make us believe, oh, ban Draven, guys. It's dangerous. I think that's a big meme, you know? So there is a point to be made about SKT being allowed to play in such a way for so long. But I think this stretches all the way back to the LCK. Because even in the LCK, SKT were allowed to play in this fashion, and they got away with it. Griffin and Damwon, they tried to match this by going hard in the early game. I think SKT is very good at stabilizing. When they're allowed to stabilize, when they play against a fucking Talia Pantheon, they know how to stabilize the game. They know how to put the game in a position where not too much happens. If we take a look, you know, the best example of this at the World Championship was the first game of SKT versus Fnatic. SKT versus Fnatic game one was a very good example because here, all they did was, you know, they used how strong their lanes were, first and foremost. It's crazy that Khan got prio in a GP matchup, you know. Yeah, it's a bit of a meme that Akali gets prio into GP. It just shouldn't happen. I don't know what Bip was doing this game. We had this crazy level 1, but then SKT just played in a way where they put vision down. So everyone's using their prio. You can see here, one ward, Rek'Sai is getting spotted. Tristana did the same, ward on bottom side. They're doing everything in their power to suffocate Rek'Sai and maintain the status quo. Because in this game, they heavily outscale. They have the Kayle on bottom, they have the Tristana. Not heavily outscale, but they scale super, super well here, and they are confident in their ability to teamfight because they have Nautilus Kayle. So in teamfights, I think they are favored, because I think it's going to be difficult as a Ryze to team fight against this team. I think if I'm Ryze playing against this, I will find a lot of difficulty. So in team fights, SKT is going to be way better. This game was just SKT maintaining cool. You see, for this long time, nothing exciting has happened. Fake did their own down bottom, cool. They had no pressure. Fnatic needed to find impact, but all of their lanes were losing. So what do you really do with that? All their lanes were losing. Bottom had such a shit start, like Garen and Yuumi should probably be winning against Nautilus Kayle. I don't think Nautilus Kayle was an exciting counter to Garen Yuumi. But Garen Yuumi got so fucked in the level 1 that, you know, it was just, it was rip. It was rip. So this is just, you know, ideal SKT game. They can play, they can stall, they can play at their own pace. Nothing interesting happens. You see the gold change. The gold doesn't change too much. You don't see massive gold advantages. You don't see massive gold swings. And then SKT reach a point where they're just so much stronger and they win. So this SKT Fnatic game was like the prime example of how SKT love to play. And this is what SKT were allowed to do in their own region as well. I think many times they were allowed to draft in a way where if they maintain the status quo, they're going to win. This is where SKT excel. And I think this is something that I'm sure G2 have recognized by now, because you could see in the draft, you know, if you take a look at G2's draft against Griffin Game 1, this is like the type of draft that could be really good into a team like freaking SK Telecom, because you have the options early on. You have the options early on, and you have the team fight scaling. This is a team composition that could be so good into SK Telecom, because they will struggle to deal with this. You have the Ornn into Renekton. Like SKT banned Ornn versus Splice, but it's not gonna happen again. You're not gonna ban Ornn against G2. It's not gonna happen. You know, it's just not gonna happen. So with that being said, if G2 draft like this, I think they have super high chances of beating SKT, because their team fight is just better. And SKT are always reaching that point where they want to force a team fight. And this composition is good for multiple reasons, because in this particular case, enemy has Renekton, so Ornn works. Elise steal away from Renekton, and so forth. Can Caps roam like he did versus Damwon with a draft like this? So the big thing about Damwon and those drafts is, you know, if we talk about G2, if we talk about Caps and what he can do versus Faker, those games are very important to highlight that that in those games. So game 1, we had Syndra versus LeBlanc. Damwon had a very big issue in the fact that Showmaker never gets help from jungle. You don't want to play LeBlanc if you don't get help from jungle. Syndra's gonna beat you. So after this, Syndra was banned. Syndra was banned because they realized that they cannot deal with this too much. This game, Renekton into Ryze, I think G2 realized that they don't want to play Renekton. So that's going to be a big deal too. Not wanting to play Renekton at this point in the tournament can be rough for you sometimes. Because if you leave Renekton to red side, it's just too powerful. And for blue, some teams like to pick it because they can blind pick it top and do things. But here with the development that Ornn is good into Renekton, then maybe people don't want to pick it on blue. Maybe it's going to be a blue side ban for everyone. But it's important to highlight that I think G2 don't want to play Renekton. It's kind of a no-no in my eyes. So this, we had the Renekton game, Orianna, Alistar versus Kai'Sa, Leona, I think is a myth. This was the Damwon victory. But this was also a very choppy game. Here G2 showed that they can stall very, very long. You don't agree with LS that Renekton is dog champ then? I think a lot of teams don't know how to play with Renekton. I think the idea of picking Renekton, a lot of teams in this tournament should stay away from it. For the top 4, I think you can get away with picking it, but you know, Khan Renekton has been very impactful this tournament. You can't take that away. Khan Renekton has been super good. It's a good blind pick. On blind picking on blue side is super difficult. And as long as you keep this in mind, you can find understanding for why Renekton is good. Because how do you blind pick top? People blind picking Vladimir. Jace was a good one. We saw that Wunderopsy was picking Jace every game, but that works against Nuguri specifically. And in a world where it's hard to blind pick top, Renekton is going to be always fine. But even now, Ornn is appearing to be a good pick into Renekton, so I can appreciate the sentiment that maybe Renekton is a dog champ, but I still think it's important to highlight Renekton. So Quinn is a good pick into Renekton. Quinn is good. Cannon can be good. You can pick Ornn as well and do the other route. Of course, there are going to be counters to any champions, but it depends on what player you play against. In this series, Wunder played Jace every game because he knows he's playing against Nuguri. He's going to play Vladimir, Cannon, Kayle. He's just going to play ranged champions that want to have Klepto. And he's picking Jace away from Nuguri himself. Nuguri also likes to play Jace, and Jace is good into all of those. So here, super good read from Wunder. Wunder Jace, Wunder Jace, Wunder Yorick into Jace. This is considered to be counter for some people. Super good one. And then we have the continuation. So we were talking about Caps and how much he roamed. And is Fiora good versus Renekton? I don't think so. I think Fiora is a dog champ. So we had the Jace with the IE for game 1. Game 2, Jace. So game 1, not much roaming. It's Syndra, right? But he was impactful with TP, if I remember correctly. And Showmaker is put in a matchup that's weaker. Naturally 1v1 because Canyon put no effort on mid. Canyon was always ganking bot or top. Showmaker was always 1v1. So this was favorable matchup for Caps. Game 2, Renekton, they just didn't know how to play because enemy had Flash Cleanse. Really good adaptation here from Ryze. It might sound like a no-brainer, but a lot of Ryze went with TP and they keep dying against Renekton Elise. Flash Cleanse, you have to put too much effort to kill, and Renekton Elise fell behind and that game was rough. Game 3, Ryze versus Corki. Ryze has prio, plain and simple. I think Ryze is just a better quality champ than Corki, and this is another one of those games where Caps was roaming and impacting the map a lot, naturally with the matchup. Here, so this was a very interesting approach because Yasuo in terms of prio has crazy prio against a lot of champs. He has crazy power in terms of pushing, and this is the first time I see a Yasuo roam as much as he did, and it was a fucking beautiful display. But once again, he's playing against the Kayle. Kayle has no fucking resistance at all. She cannot fucking fight back. She cannot push back. She's looking to scale. Kayle was considered to be a fine pick into Gragas Yasuo because you can survive the combo. You know, Gragas ults you, you ult, and you survive somewhat, you know? But Yasuo took a complete different approach. Very, very smart. Yasuo just kept pushing, roaming, and impacting the map. So for the people that ask me, can Caps roam the same way in the SKT series like it did now? Well, SKT, once again, when it came to how they played in the LCK, I regarded as their 2v2 as one of the best ones in the world. And I don't think they've showcased it yet. And I think the nature of Caps roaming is tied to the matchups a lot. And when you look at some of the Griffin games, I think what Chovy did better was making sure that he has a better matchup. And you can't just find roams randomly. You can't just say, I'm going to roam this game and then not think about your matchup at all. So when it comes to the roaming of Caps, he does it very, very well. Very, very smart. I think he plays side lane super, super good. But it's not something that we can always expect because it's dependent on the other side of the map. So it was crazy because usually you don't want to fucking play Ryze versus Irelia at all, but they managed to solve it with Gragas and Yasuo perma ganking top. So that was super, super cute, cool. Ryze in competitive is so OP, and people say it didn't matter when Fnatic didn't ban it low. Well, they would have fucking lost anyway. The ban wouldn't change anything. They won against Ryze. They lost when they banned Ryze. Like, it really doesn't matter. I think Faker has been not so interesting this tournament. I had higher hopes for Faker. I had higher hopes for Faker and Clid 2v2. And I'm not as excited about SKT as I was at the beginning of this tournament. Because I think their group stage performance was meh. People said that the RNG games were some of the best games that have ever been seen, you know, and that to me is super unexciting. There's some question marks we need to throw in the air though. Is Qiyana is something that G2 refused to play because of the result with Qiyana. Understandable. That's a problem. Faker 1v1 mid laning was never his, like, it was not his strength in this tournament. Faker decision making, Faker team fighting, this is his strength. And looking at the mid laners that are left in the tournament, you have 3 players that are leaning heavier in that direction. Doinby, Caps, and Faker. They are kind of similar in the fact that they are heavier on the team play and heavier on the team side of things than Rookie and Showmaker and Chovy, for example. Rookie, Showmaker, Chovy, they are more focused on the laning and they are better at the laning aspects of it. But I think Doinby, Caps, and and Faker, how they impact the map later parts in the game, and how they position and how smart they play is something. SKT played Qiyana this tournament, but Faker plays a really, really good Qiyana. Qiyana has been banned many times. I think it's higher chances of Khalid playing Qiyana jungle than Jankos playing Qiyana jungle. So sure, Faker SKT might ban Qiyana, but I doubt it. I wouldn't do it against G2. I would test the waters. Thing is, Qiyana mid is not that OP. Qiyana mid has a lot of bad matchups. I know we all saw Rookie destroy Jensen 1v1 with Qiyana, but it's not how it's supposed to go. Not how it's supposed to go at all. Another big question to raise here in terms of G2 and SK Telecom is we don't know what is going to happen with Perks when Kaiser and Zaya's out. Because APs have not been successful at all this tournament. Not at all. Zoe was picked into Griffin. That was quite a terrible time to pick Zoe. There's been an Orianna game that was lost. Yasuo game that was lost. He barely got to play Syndra. Well, sure, but the supers that people play right now is pretty good. Orianna and Zoe was bad, yeah. And he barely got to play Syndra. Syndra is a great champ, might be banned. Syndra's bot still is good. What happened if Xayah, Kaiser's out? You know, all the other AD carries that are left, they can play Varus, they can play Kog'Maw, they can play all this other crap. We saw LWX, he's like, holy, Varus meta. I love Varus. Pick me Varus. Varus. I want to play Varus. That's a big deal. Teddy as well. Kalista, Varus. He loves this shit. When Xayah Kaiser ban start dropping, what's gonna happen? What do you think? Will Teddy fall back to Ezreal? Sure. Ezreal becomes super high prior when these bans come out. So with that being said, you know, Faker by far is out of top 10 this world. Could be true, could be true. I haven't put a lot of thought to it, but for sure could be true. I don't think he was that amazing this tournament. Perks also play Varus. The thing is, you guys say play Varus like he played a game or two of Varus in the LEC or so, but it's sure he might play Varus, but it's not the same as LWX and freaking Teddy play Varus. They played Varus their whole life, okay? They play Varus their whole life. So, it is what it is. Varus shouldn't be too hard to play for mid laner. That's not what the case. Kog'Maw, like, it's a worry, but it's not like, oh, I'm putting money on the fact that Perks is gonna be weaker because he doesn't. No, it's not the case. I just think here Teddy has an advantage with the Ezreal and the Kalista, LWX, Varus. Perks, his advantage was his, you know, let's say these. Of course, Perks can play these fucking AD carries. It's not a problem, you know. If he locks it in, I'm not gonna be like, oh, Perks, he's gonna run it down on this champ. That's not gonna happen. But it's like, you know, some champions you're better on, you excel on, you understand them better, you feel them better. You know, Varus is such an easy champ to master. No. Just there's so many Varus that don't do fucking anything. LWX is crazy good Varus. Vayne, I remember Draven, Jackie Love as well, Draven, Varus. So Yasuo, there's counters to Yasuo. Syndra gets banned. A lot of skill shots on Varus. Guys, this is not how the game works. It's not like, oh, skill shots, Perks is a mid lane, skill shots. It's more about, you know, the amount of hours you've put into something. And APs have not been that successful, and that was Perks' massive advantage. He plays fucking insanely good on Kaiser and Xayah, and you could never fucking imagine that that Perks was a mid laner, you know, last year. I can't imagine with the way he plays Xayah and Kaiser. It is super insane. Super insane the level his Kaiser and Xayah. And I'm not worried that he's gonna be like dog shit and run it down. It's just more about, you know, if the meta shifts, he might be maybe at a disadvantage, you know, maybe, because the meta shift, you know, could be in Teddy's direction with the Ezreal, then Teddy. Teddy is a better Ezreal than Perks, for example. LWX is a better Varus, for example. But Perks is a better AP and a similar level Kai'Sa and Xayah, if not better. Yeah? If not better. But APs this tournament have been super unexciting, right? There's been no APs that have been standing out. Syndra is probably the one that is the best, but it's not being allowed to be played bottom because most of the time either you have Jackie Love playing it and he's running it down, or you have G2 picking it and putting it mid. Yeah? You forgot about support gap in bot lane. I think Effort is definitely the weakest player of SKT, but as much as I love Mickey, I don't think he's been too crazy this tournament. I think his laning has been super strong. I think laning has been good, but there's been times where you're like, Mickey, come on. So it's like I'm holding reservation to saying, oh, bot lane support difference, because Effort can be really good, Mickey can be really good, and I think this is dangerous. A lot of supports at the World Champions have looked pretty shaky. Like Crisp has been looking solid, but not like, wow, best support in the tournament. Heimerdinger, UL, like, you really think I'm gonna think about play-ins at this point in time? We're talking about semi-finals, once you look at play-ins. So another thing is people like to compare SKT versus G2, their MSI games in comparison to the best of 5 that's coming. So that's another very important point. SKT is not the same team. They are not the same team. Sure, you can give them some power in the sense that they know what to expect when they're facing G2. That experience means a lot. But SK Telecom is not some clean, well-oiled machine that is like, boom, take a lead, macro geniuses, they're going to slowly suffocate you and win the game. SKT is not that at all. With SK Telecom, you know, in terms of the cleanliness in macro and making mistakes, Mata, we cannot underestimate what what Mata brings to the table of a team. While Mata is not that good mechanically anymore, losing Mata in your team is always going to impact how well you play strategically. Because there's been clips of Mata and how good he is in terms of shot calling and how he's micromanaging and how he understands the game. You know, losing a player like Mata is definitely a very, very positive thing for G2. Because sometimes you see SKT blundering a lot. He Effort blunders, and you see SKT blunder, Khan getting caught, you see someone getting caught, Faker getting caught. Faker, like SKT, not figuring out how to play the game within the game. A lot of silliness that SKT, that you don't remember SKT for. So it's weird. Obviously, Mata fell from favor, and you can point to how of course, Mata shouldn't be playing, and that's okay. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm just talking about the change of SKT. The change of SKT. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Mata wasn't performing. He had a very hard, very, very rough summer split, and they benched him, and, boom. Who has been your top 3 players this Worlds? I think the Shy is number 1. The Shy is number 1. Perks number 2. I think. Is he number 2? No, he's not number 2. Caps has been a superstar as well. Caps has been super good. Caps, I think Caps played better than Perks. And then Tian, yeah. At the Shy, Caps, Tian would be there. I wouldn't put Klid or Doinby, not my top 3. Tian was really, really insane. Rookie has also been super, super insane. Khan has been super, super good as well. I think Khan's second best top lane of the tournament. Sword, yeah, Sword has been amazing. So, to summarize G2 versus SK Telecom, I think G2 is going to take it. I think SKT have shown very little dimension to their play, and I think this is going to be a massive advantage for G2. I don't think SKT is super clean in any way, so I don't think, while both teams can be a bit dirty, maybe this is just how the world is now. The teams play dirty. The cleanest team so far in semifinals is FPX, which is hilarious. If you look at their quarterfinals of each of these teams, even G2 in their games against Damwon, they looked pretty dirty sometimes, you know, and maybe that's cool. So G2 wins against SKT 3-1. That is my prediction. I think G2 have more depth. I think they can have a lot more variety in the way that they play. They understand how to turn it on and how to figure out how to play the game at later parts in the game. I think that's super important. That's something that a lot of teams can't do. Khan versus low-level top laner, not playing versus top 3 top laner in the tournament. No, Khan has been playing super good. Khan played super, super well. That's Gimgoon is the worst performer on FPX. So Gimgoon, while I had high hopes for him coming into the tournament, I don't think he has played super well. Have you been impressed by G2 this tournament? Yeah, against Damwon I was pretty impressed. Caps played super well. Should I just ban Rise versus FPX? They don't have to know. SKT have just shown too little dimension. And I think if SKT are going to win against G2, it is going to be... It's going to have to be because they win 2v2 mid and they continue. They win 2v2 mid and they continue pressuring the map through that. But I have sincere doubts that they're going to play the game that way. They just need to... If they secure 2v2 mid with Klid and Faker, they can pressure the whole map. I've seen so little of this in this tournament. And it's been, you know, really disappointing from some teams because I had higher hopes for this. And SKT, for me, has been a disappointment this tournament. G2 fit expectations perfectly, I feel. The only question mark for me with G2 is, you know, Mickey and Yankots have been quite inconsistent. And Wunder, I think when Wunder prepares against a specific opponent, he's so much better than preparing for a whole group stage. Because I think Wunder is so freaking flexible in terms of what he can play. And if they can figure out what Khan plays, what he likes to play, and he finds the counters for it, that's amazing. Because in the series against Damwon, he was just picking Jace. When enemy picked Jace, he had the Yorick prepared. It was wonderful. It was really, really good. Super, super good read. Wunder has very good understanding of what he wants to play. But then, when you play against the Shy and Khan, I don't think they have clear holes in the way they play. And I think that might be tricky. That might be tricky. He's not going to be able to have the same edge like he had against Nuguri because of draft advantage. I think the advantage G2 has all over, over these teams is how well they spread the pressure within the team. If someone on G2 has a lead, everyone feels it, you know, they share the wealth. And this is G2's massive strength. When Caps has a lead, everyone feels it, you know, he's throwing money around, you know. He's like, if I'm sitting first class, you're sitting first class. You know, they are definitely really, really good at spreading the pressure. And they are really good at recognizing how they need to play to win the game. So for me, this is G2's biggest strength. And I think coming into a best of 5 against SKT, if they recognize the flaws of SK Telecom, meaning that most of their wins just come off of team fights, most of the wins come off of early games that are allowed to be stale because of SKT's draft, then I think G2 have an edge, and G2 will understand SKT way better than I do, for sure, because I'm just sitting here watching the games. Somewhat of an analyst, somewhat of a fan. I don't have any stake in this. They're putting their heart and soul into it, and their ability to dissect Damwon was quite beautiful. Quite beautiful. Super, super beautiful. So G2 3-1. In terms of every individual matchup, I think G2's bot lane is going to be better than Teddy and Effort. In terms of laning, I think Teddy and Effort laning has been quite mediocre, honestly. It's not been that great. Uzi and Ming really, really spit on them. And their lane is not that great. And later on, Effort tends to get caught. Mickey also tends to get caught. I think Mickey has a higher ceiling than Effort. I think Mickey is slightly better than Effort, but I don't think there's like a big difference maker there. Mid lane, I think Caps has performed better than Faker so far. I think Faker did some silly things that were covered up by the fact that he's surrounded by great individual players. And honestly, I think Khan has been super, super underrated this tournament. Khan has played super, super well, but that also comes from the team fighting. Like, his gangplank was beautiful. His Renekton flanks. Renekton is a champion that's very difficult to team fight with. Very, very difficult to team fight with. And I think Khan has been super, super strong. I think Faker has made some silly mistakes that you don't expect from Faker. And maybe I'm more critical of Faker because of the expectation. But I think Caps has been very well rounded in this tournament, and that is super, super exciting, you know. So Caps, Faker, I think it depends on draft. I think skill level they are very similar from what I've seen so far. I think Faker still can level up. I think Faker played better in LCK playoffs, so maybe the more important it gets, the better Faker is. That could be the case. It's tough not to. It's tough to count Faker and Clid 2v2 out, because I think if SKT are going to win, it's because they control 2v2 mid lane super, super hard and then into top. I think this is the way you win against G2, because G2 still, Caps was allowed to roam in the Damwon series because Showmaker and Canyon don't play together. They don't play together. They don't build vision. They don't do anything together. And I think if SKT fight back here, then the games might look very exciting, because SKT 2v2 mid lane, I want to see more of it. I want to see more of it. For me, 2v2 mid lane is going to decide the game, for sure. And then, you know, top lane is a very strange role, because top lane, you're always going to be a victim of what's happening in the game. And Khan has done a lot of good fighting. I think that's what's been impressive. I think SKT don't allow Khan to be as full of depth as Wunder, because there is more dimensions to how G2 play. So Wunder can find counter picks and do well, can play bad matchups and do well, because I feel like G2 can save him. Top lane is a role that needs to be saved in a lot of cases. And that's why the Shy is so fucking impressive, because in a lot of cases at the World Championship, as good as the Shy is, yeah, he is getting no fucking jungle attention. The Shy is getting no fucking jungle attention. One game Ning played Rek'Sai and they were diving top and he was just fucking inting the lane. So it's just the time he gets jungle attention, it goes to shit, you know, because of his jungler misplaying. So the Shy is so amazing as a player because he manages to do so much with so fucking little. That's just the summary of the Shy. And I think Faker's gonna play better, for sure. I think the fireworks will happen in the mid lane. I think Khan is at the mercy of his team. And I think Wunder gets to be a better top laner because his team allows him to. And I think in a lot of cases, players do, like top laners specifically, get very limited by how the team plays. And I think the dimension of how SKT play is a problem. Because imagine, you know, look at this final draft. This draft, SKT would not be able to execute on this. Rise. So Rise doesn't want to lane against Irelia. This is a fucking disaster. You know, if I'm playing Rise against Irelia, I'm like, guys, you need to fucking boost me, baby. Because I'm gonna get fucking killed over and over. This matchup is super fucking hard. But Yasuo Gragas were like, yo, we got you covered. This is something that I can't imagine SKT doing. I don't imagine SKT doing something like this. So, because of that, I'm giving Wunder the edge. Because of his team. Not because of individual play. Individual play, I think Khan has been slightly better, but Wunder has a way of meshing with his team. Wunder is very good at building waves, very good at understanding the map state, how he can use his teammates to impact his lane. And I think this is what Wunder is better than any top lane at this tournament. I think this is what summarizes G2 as a team. They understand each other's lanes, they understand each other's position. Because I think what's amazing about Wunder, Caps, and Perks is that you can switch them around in the positions, not because they are mechanically talented, so it's just because their game knowledge is at that level, you know? Wunder definitely could play some mid games. Perks can play some top lane games, you know? They understand how the game works. And when you're playing at this level, when the lanes understand how the other lanes function, you can save each other. And when you understand, if I can mend this bleeding for my teammate, if he's playing the Rise or Irelia matchup and I get him through this phase, I know I'm going to win this game because this is the way in for the enemy. All of a sudden, everything starts to flow better. And this is what's so amazing about G2. Super, super amazing about G2. I think when you compare these three top laners, Wunder, how he can use his team is better than the other two. The Shy individually is on a whole nother level. The Shy is the best player at this tournament so far. Thank you so much, Cursing Vortex. Make some noise. Okay. Wunder is so underrated. Yeah, I think he's underrated. I think Khan is underrated too. The Shy is the best, yeah. You can say the Shy is the best and still think that Wunder and our boy Khan is underrated. I think Gimgoon is by far the worst performer in the top lane. I don't know what we can expect from Caps if he loses lane. Well, the thing is, G2 rarely draft themselves in a scenario where they are losing everywhere. They usually spread the pressure into mid. You can see in the game, first game Griffin against G2 is a very interesting game because Orianna versus Irelia is like 8-2 in favor of Irelia. It's a very shit matchup for Orianna. And still, they managed to find timings to give Orianna space. Thank you so much, Celebril. Welcome to the club. Sword is the worst. Well, he's not in the tournament. Gimgoon can survive lane. Tian will stomp Ning. Tian doesn't do a lot of stomping. That's the thing. Tian doesn't do a lot of stomping. He makes your jungler unimpactful. And this is not how IG has won. It's not like Tian is getting super fed, he's killing enemy jungle 1v1 over and over. No. He's suffocating the shit out of your jungler. And that is way harder to do. You know, we can transition into the FPX talk in a moment. Let's just summarize G2 completely, make sure we fleshed everything out. We discussed the potential situations here. Is there anything left to add? Any questions about G2 SKT? G2 SKT, any questions? Who will get series MVP? My guess is Jankos. What do you think Perks versus Teddy? I think Perks is better than Teddy. But it depends on what meta is occurring. Like if Xayah and Kai'Sa starts to get banned or if they get ignored, I think it's better for Perks. If Xayah and Kai'Sa get banned and then, for example, Ezreal gets picked up and Yasuo doesn't get through, then maybe. Could be exciting. What will be the meta on that series? It's hard to predict. Right now it's too hard to predict meta and you know, everything would be a guess. Do you think G2 will show off any off-meta surprise picks? Yeah, probably. Think Perks versus Teddy would decide who is the best ADC at Worlds this year? No. I think people are really underestimating JackeyLove. Really underestimating JackeyLove. Don't you think G2's duo has been better than SKT throughout tournament? Yeah. G2's bot lane has been better. JackeyLove mechanically probably is the best AD, but decision making wise, the worst. Oh, I saw video. I saw the Diablo 4 video, Sammy. It was fucking bad. Fucking shit video. What happens when JackeyLove doesn't get Xayah or Kai'Sa? Well, did you see his Kog'Maw? Have you seen his Varus? You know? What about Mickey X? He doesn't look good now, but neither does any other support, so we don't give a shit. Did you review IG vs FPX already? It's coming up next. Do you think there will be a lot higher priority on picks like Ryze? I think there is definitely counters to Ryze. Like you can play, for example, I think LeBlanc is okay, but a lot of the matchups rely on 2v2. You can set up ganks on Ryze very easily. Like if you play Orianna into Ryze, you can set up ganks easily. Syndra into Ryze, you can set up ganks easily. LeBlanc into Ryze, you can set up ganks easily. Yasuo is good into Ryze. I think there's definitely picks, but Ryze is super strong scaling, super good pushing. If Ryze is in a good matchup, it is one of the most OP champions in the game for sure. If Ryze is picked in a good matchup, for sure, one of the best champions in the game. Do you think Wunder has performed well this tournament, and will he perform versus SKT? I think against Damwon he played very well. I think Wunder is a person that adjusts depending on what is the necessity of the team. I think he adjusts depending on who he plays against. I think Wunder has a lot of depth, and that's what makes him so good. I think his game knowledge is super good, and I think he has a team, or he himself understands what he needs from his team in order to do well. Because look at the series against Fnatic, you know? In the series against Fnatic, he was blind picking Kled. He's not going to blind pick Kled against anyone else except Except freaking Bwipo. Of course not. And then here against Nuguri, he's not gonna continue to blind pick Jace. I doubt it. Just Jace. Jace was the perfect pick against Nuguri. Let's see now how he dissects Khan. Very possible. Very possible that it might happen. Would you say Perks is the best Western ADC? Yeah, by far. By far. Crisps look very strong now. He looks consistent, but strong. You know, he's consistent. He's strong. He's solid. Probably the best support so far. Everyone else is kind of running it down, so. Does Vega bot counter the Kaiser Zaya ADC meta? No, it does not. Veigar bot is the more important aspect of Veigar bot is more the support matchup. Like if you have Veigar and you're good into enemy support, then it's good pick. But there are some supports that are good into Veigar, and that's problematic. Don't you think G2's duo mid jungle has been better than SKT throughout the tournament? Yeah, it has, because SKT's 2v2 duo has not existed this tournament. And that's the biggest question mark. SKT just haven't shown their 2v2 mid at all. Against RNG they tried, they lost. Against, what was the fourth team in that group? HQ or whatever? Hong Kong Attitude? Hong Kong Attitude was in that group? Like who was the fourth team in the group? Clutch Gaming. Clutch Gamer. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Look at that. Okay, keep your Doinby FPX questions for when we finish G2 and SKT. Do you think that SKT did not try out against Spy? I think they were trying to hide some picks here and there, but not tryharding. This is not the SKT way. I think they were just trying to experiment a bit with draft, and it's so Clutch Gaming. We're talking about Clutch Gaming. That was the only series where SKT were like, okay, we're gonna do 2v2 mid. They had Camille Elise. Good for them, you know, but it was quite uninspiring, yeah. Is Caps best performing mid laner? Depends on how you view it. I think Rookie has played super well. And Chovy played super well this tournament. Why does Caps roam so much now? He always did. I think Faker so far has looked okay. Nothing too exciting. Why did Silas fall off the meta? He got too hard nerfed. Considering G2 advance, would IG or FPX be a better matchup for them? I think FPX is a better matchup. I think best performing mid laners, I would say Rookie and Caps, yeah. Chovy just played tanks. Well, obviously you didn't watch any of the games, so it's okay. I think people are taking away too much from FPX Fnatic series, because Fnatic was honestly a feather in the wind. Like, it was very easy to push them over. Hyping Faker before the tournament was quite unfair. No. In regionals, In finals and in playoffs and second half of the season, Faker played really, really well. He played much better than he has so far at the World Championship. Griffin looked like the strongest Korean team at the tournament. Okay. If we see it, Zoe botlane Fujitsu, are they doomed? No. It was just that particular game. Like, look at this. World Championship. Let's press G2 Esports. What are some of the games? Their second loss. So here, their last pick, Zoe, okay? The blue last pick. If you see Lee, Galio, Zaya, Rakan, you don't want last pick Zoe. It's just, it's not the pick. It's just not the pick. And then the Ornn last pick is just good luck. Just good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Monster. Is with the winner of SKT G2 the winner of Worlds? Not necessarily, no. If they face FPX, then they're the winner of Worlds. If they face IG, it's not 100%. Okay. Any final question, SKT G2? (3-1). Clean. Simple. Will you do live stream today? I'm streaming right now. Did you just... The fuck? Where is your suit, by the way? It's resting. My suit needs to rest. Who has the better logo? Better logo? Honestly, I like the T1 logo. Yeah, I'm gonna wear a suit at home. What's wrong with you guys? What are SKT's flaws and what are G2's flaws? So that's a very big question. 3-1 G2 win. If one team wins 3-0, which one is it more likely to be? Probably SKT. SKT's flaws are that they are very one-dimensional. Very one-dimensional in their approach. It's always about maintaining the status quo and finding fights around objectives. This particular style, they do the best in the world by far. But when it requires them to be more proactive, when they need to find advantages through lanes, then it's harder, for sure. It's harder. So SKT, this is their weakness. The fact that they're very one-dimensional in their approach, which is sometimes a strength, so you can take it how you will. Of course, coming into semifinals, you have to consider a lot of things. Another weakness is Effort's performance hasn't been too exciting. And some of their playstyle, it relies on their laners being stronger than the enemy. I think, you know, SKT has just been one-dimensional. That's how I would summarize it. G2's weaknesses, sometimes they try to be too creative. Sometimes they try to make drafts, sometimes they make adjustments that are not that great. We saw the 2 games against Griffin. They were completely dominated, outmatched in complete fashion. The drafting was super bad. The adjustment between the games was super bad. We have had performances this tournament that have been very inconsistent. Jankos has dropped the ball, Mickey has dropped the ball, and this is an issue. G2 have a lot of inconsistency in their performance, but that's something that we just have to accept at this point, you know? G2 against SKT, I think it's a dream matchup for them. G2 is super happy with this. I think the toughest team to beat for G2 is IG. Wunder has dropped the ball. Yeah, he has dropped the ball. I think Caps and Perks, super good throughout the tournament. Nothing that stands out in my eyes that was like super bad from them or bad games. I think they played super well. So I'm happy about that. Caps and Perks showing that experience of playing a whole circuit, including MSI, that it really matters. G2 looks so lost when they get super big early lead. That's really not true. That's bullshit. I think sometimes they allow themselves to bullshit around a bit too much. Perks Orianna was bad. You know, playing Orianna against Leona and lane, you know, you can just go take a shit, you know. It's a shit lane. That was just shit draft. Why do you think SKT can only win one game? I think G2 is the better team. I think SKT, you know, 3-2, you can make the 3-2 prediction as well. I don't think the number of the games matters too much, because in the end, I believe G2 is going to win. It could go to 5 games. I can see that happening. They skip steps when they get a big lead. Well, they kind of fuck around a bit too much. Like in that game 4 against Damwon, sure, they fuck around, but at any point, did you feel like G2 is going to lose? Not really. And I think that's the big difference maker here. It's a part of the G2 charm, you know? And is it only my feeling of, does G2 throw a lot? I don't know if they throw a lot. I think a lot of the losses come from a lot of early game mistakes that gives the enemy team a lead that is just too large. Would you agree that more games you to play versus team, the more they explode download exactly what the enemy does? I think yeah. I think IG Chinese G2, yeah, that's fair. But I think IG less creative, more good on an individual basis. G2 more of a team, IG more of individuals. So honestly, no, you can't compare the two. Honestly, scratch that. The only reason you can compare the two is that both teams are really good. It's just. Why is the Shy so good compared to other top laners? Because he gives so little and takes so much. Mechanically, he's really fucking insane. Laning wise, out of this world. Honestly, best top lane in the world that has ever lived. Honestly, he's so fucking good. It's insane how good he is. Laning wise, mechanically, decision making wise, just that is very hard to find any flaws in the way the Shy plays. Very difficult. Good luck. People forget that MSI G2 SKT was 3-2 because G2 was first time timing Sona Tarek first game. You know, they played it against OG in the finals. So, not true. Even though that game was in the trash right away from minute 1, sure, I get the sentiment that that first game wasn't even really a game. But it's not true that that was first time. They played it a lot. He never buys control words. That's your criticism of the Shy. Did you hear it, Alena? This is what you always tell me. Buy pink words.
I mean, doesn't mean that it's his only criticism.
This is fucking funny. Well, it's a good point. You know, he managed to do something that I couldn't do. It's Yusuf Ho. Yusuf Ho, you found the criticism. I asked and you delivered. So God bless you, man. We didn't say, tell us why the Shy is bad. We asked for a criticism. Really, really good. Solid. You know, the big thing about the Shy is, the big thing